In addition to the economies of scale and diseconomies of scale, there is one other case of constant unit cost when the plant size is changing. This is called constant returns to scale. These are all long run concepts. While in short run, the average total cost may be falling or rising. But when we talk about economies of scale, we look at the long run. So when all the factors are variable, it takes those cases. In short run, we have increasing and diminishing returns when overall the firm has a fixed factor of production. So we can say if the factors of production are constant, then we look at the increasing or diminishing returns and in short run. And when we are changing even the factors, when the factors are variable, we are looking at the long run and we are looking at economies and diseconomies of scale as a concept. So in the long run curve, the downward sloping portion of average total cost shows economies of scale. The horizontal portion would show constant returns to scale, and upward portion slope shows diseconomies of scale. So the minimum efficient scale will be the smallest quantity of output at which the long run average cost reaches its the lowest level. So if it is a U-shaped curve, the minimum point identifies the minimum efficient scale output level. So that level we are going to have the minimum cost at the lowest quantity. That is called minimum efficient scale. Let us look at that in graph. So if this is the price and on the horizontal axis we have output, in the short run the cost is coming down and after that it goes up. Then there might be a shift in the factors itself and we are shifting to new short run average total cost curve like this, and then to a new short run average total cost curve, and so on. In addition to that, there is a change in the minimum level itself. If we just join all the minimum points of the curve, we get this shape, which is the long run curve. In the long run curve, if we are looking economies of scale, this number is coming down. So till this point we have economies of scale. Here we have constant returns to scale, and after that we have diminishing return or diseconomies of scale where the cost is rising. And at the lowest point we have the minimum efficient scale. So this is the minimum quantity at which we are achieving this level of minimum price. Now let us look at the profit. How do we earn it? Under perfect competition, how do we maximize profit? The price is going to be above average total cost in the short run, and later it will come down to this level itself. Price will come down to P2 itself, where the companies will not be able to earn any economic profit. They will earn only normal profit. So where they are recovering the average total cost. This was the case under perfect competition. The goal of each firm is to maximize economic profit, which will be total revenue minus total cost. This total cost includes the opportunity cost of production, which includes the normal profit. So when we are talking about the perfect competition, the firm's total revenue equals price, and price multiplied by the quantity is the revenue, P into Q. So if the price becomes even less than average total cost, it will be no economic profit, it will be loss. So in the short run, the company may survive, but in the long run, it may not survive when price is less than average total cost. We have already seen when the price is above average variable cost and less than average total cost, then it may survive in short run. But if it becomes even less than average variable cost, if it will not survive even in short run, it has to be closed down. Let us look at the case in imperfect competition. There, if the marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, that is going to be the point for profit maximization. So this is the quantity which the company should be producing for profit maximization. So in the case of all kinds of market structure, we are going to look at the point where the marginal cost is cutting the marginal revenue curve. This point, that will give us the quantity which the company will be willing to produce because of the profit maximization target. And for the price, we need to look at the demand curve. So this is the quantity. We need to extend this line up and see where is it cutting the demand curve, and that point will give us the price. So this is the price which the company is selling at. This is above the average total cost. This line was cutting average total cost at this point. So this is our average total cost, and whatever we are earning above average total cost is our monopoly profit, because we know that in long run, in case of perfect competition, the company will be able to sell only at average total cost, not above that. But here, due to imperfect competition or monopoly reasons, the company is able to sell at a higher price. So that is its monopoly profit. Now let us look at the profit maximization in long run. So under perfect competition, the market price will be P2, which will be equal to the average total cost here. This is the level of P2, minimum efficient scale. And in the long run, the firms will move to this minimum efficient scale. The price will come down to this under the case of perfect competition. Now let us move to the next concept. The constant cost industry, increasing cost industry and decreasing cost industry. First, the constant cost industry. Suppose earlier the S1 was the supply curve and D1 was the demand curve. S1 and D1 were cutting at this point. Okay, this was some price P, say this is P1 and this is P2. Price was P1 at that point in time. Now, if the demand goes up, then it shifts here. Due to higher demand, we have the higher price P2 and the quantity also increases. So we have now Q2 quantity. But when the price increases, even the input cost will also increase because of the higher wages. The demand for these labors will go up. Due to that, the supply curve is going to shift rightwards and they are going to cut at a new level. The new demand curve and new supply curve will cut at this level where the quantity is even higher but the price come back to the same level. So this industry is producing more and more with time, but the cost remains the same. So it is called constant cost industry. Let us look at the other cases. The increasing cost industry. In this case, the demand curve shifts up. Earlier it was demand and supply curve were cutting here. Now it shifts up. The new demand curve and old supply curve, there's a new price to it, new quantity, increased quantity. But due to increase in the cost, the supply curve is shifting rightwards. Now it is cutting the demand curve at a new level, which is not same as the earlier price level. It is P2. It is not coming back to P1, but it is coming to P2. So we can see the price is rising slowly. This was the price earlier, then this price, then this price. So long run supply curve will be rising prices. So this is the case of increasing cost industry. Similarly, if it comes down further, then it will be decreasing cost. Let us look at that as well. In the case of decreasing cost industry, demand curve shifts. First it was cutting here, then new demand curve D2 and S1 are cutting here, the higher price, and then the supply curve is shifting rightwards. Now it is cutting the old demand curve at this point where the price is even less than what was earlier. So you are producing more quantity and at a lesser price. So P2 is less than P1. This is the case of decreasing cost industry. Let us move to the next topic. The labor productivity. Labor is one of the important factors. Let us look at the productivity. The total product is the total output of goods associated with the alternate utilization rates of the variable input. So it increases as more and more units of variable inputs are used. So it will represent, if we are hiring more and more labor in the context of labor, they will produce more output. So total product will be output of all the input variables. Then the marginal product is increase in the total product as variable input increases by 1 extra unit. So in this case, what is a variable input? We are talking about labor. So if we are hiring 1 extra labor, what is the increase in the total product? How many extra units we are able to produce because of one extra labor. That is called marginal product of that particular factor. In this case, we are talking about labor. What is the average product? It is the total product divided by total number of units of the variable input used in the production. It is how many products were produced by how many numbers of labor. In this case, that is called average product due to that particular factor. Let us look at the productivity through a numerical example. Suppose there was one worker earlier, total number of units produced were 8. So marginal product was 8 and also average product is 8 because one extra unit has been produced. 8 extra units have been produced by one extra labor. Then one more labor is hired. Now 20 units have been produced. So 12 extra were produced by the second labor. So marginal product is 12. And if we look at the average product, it is total product divided by total number of worker. It is 10. So on an average, product produced per labor is 10. In this case, marginal is 12. Then we have hired one more worker. Now the total product has gone up to 28, but the marginal product has come down to 8. So the third extra worker has been able to produce only 8 units. Average will also come down because of that. Now the new average is 28 divided by 3, which is 9.3. And if we are hiring further, fourth labor, the total product is rising, but the marginal product is falling. So every extra labor is not able to produce as much as the earlier. So marginal product is coming down and also the average product will also coming down. Now let us look at that in terms of graph. Marginal product, assuming that everything else is constant, first increases and then decreases. So this is our marginal product. It is going up first and then it is coming down. And if we look at the average product, that will also behave in the same way. The only difference is it will be slightly delayed. The point at which the average product is cutting the marginal product, after that the average product will start coming down. So the quantity of variable input at which the marginal product is equal to average product, that is the maximum point of average product. After that, the average product will start coming down. Now let us look at the graph in terms of total output. So this is our total output on the y-axis, and on the x-axis we have the quantity of variable input. When we are talking about labor, it is the number of labor hired. So as we can see that in starting, it will increase slowly and then the speed goes up, or we can say the marginal return of this factor or the labor goes up. So one extra labor we hire, we are able to produce much more here, but after that we get a saturation point. If we try to hire more labor, there is not much change in the output produced, and it might be even negative, that hiring one extra labor is actually reducing the output. So as more and more units of the variable resource are combined with a fixed amount of other resources, employment of the additional units of variable resource will eventually increase the output only at a decreasing rate. So here the rate is decreasing. The marginal output is decreasing. Once the diminishing returns are reached, it will take successively large amount of variable factor to expand output of one unit. So here, to expand the output of just one unit, we would require to hire a large number of labor or the variable factor. The profit maximization is the objective of the firm. It demands labor and other factors to produce goods and services. What is the marginal revenue product of labor? It is nothing but the multiplication of marginal product and marginal revenue. So it is a change in total revenue of the firm that is resulting from the employment of one additional labor. So it has two components. First component, marginal product, says if we are hiring one additional unit of labor, what extra we are producing. So what is the change in output which is resulting from the employment of one additional labor. And marginal revenue says what is the change in total revenue when we are selling one extra unit of output. So if we are selling one extra unit, this is the revenue we are getting. If we are hiring one extra labor, this is the production we are getting. And when we multiply these two, we get the marginal revenue product. So it will be a product of input equal to the marginal product multiplied by marginal revenue. Another important point here is to maximize the profits. How do we use the resources, the factors? We use additional amount of input only till the point the marginal revenue product remains same as the unit cost. If our marginal revenue product is more than the unit cost, then it is wise to hire more. But when it reaches that level, or we say in the case of labor, when the marginal revenue product of the labor becomes equal to the wage of the labor, then we should not hire. After that, we should not hire more labor. Let us take an example here. Suppose a mutual fund is hiring research analyst and they are choosing among CFA charter holders and non-charter holders. Charter holder makes 200,000 a year and analyze 400 stocks per year. This is the per unit. We can calculate the per unit cost. Non-charter holder makes 100,000 per year, can cover 100 stocks per year. So what is the marginal cost of CFA? It is $200,000 divided by 400, which is the number of units. So 500 is the per unit marginal cost. The marginal cost for non-CFA is going to be 100,000 divided by 100, which is 1000. So obviously the marginal cost of CFA is less and for non-CFA it is more. So we can say the productivity of CFA charter holders is double than that of non-CFA charter holders. So we will obviously choose CFA charter holders. What is the impact of this? They will be twice as productive, so they will be hired. It will cause a wage to rise because there will be more demand of CFA charter holders because of their higher productivity. Their wages will rise and the wages of non-CFA charter holders will fall because of this low productivity, and they will reach a point where the ratios of marginal product of each resources will become equal to its price. So this ratio becomes equal for both of them. So one price will come down, one price will go up, so they will converge to a point. The ratio will converge to a point. So we can express that in terms of a formula, which is MPA by PA is equal to MPB by PB, MPC by C. So in the case of equilibrium or for cost minimization, this should be the level which has to be achieved. Marginal product divided by price should be equal. The additional output per dollar spent on each input must be equal to the margin. So we can say if we are trying to take a decision regarding the more employment of labor or capital, then we have to just compare this ratio, the marginal product of labor divided by the price of labor and marginal product of capital divided by price of capital. So if this is greater, then obviously we should hire more labor and we should use less capital so that we can produce the output at decreased cost. If it is the other way around, if the marginal product of capital divided by price of capital is more, then we hire more capital and we hire less labor. So this is how we take a decision when we are comparing the various factor inputs based on their productivity. Now let us take a few questions here.